Greetings and welcome to another episode of SPCA Stories. Hope you are all doing well. If you are new to us, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. I'm Dawn Fenton, SPCA Monterey County Content and Education Manager, and we are coming to you from the SPCA Monterey County Claire Jacobson Learning Center in gorgeous Salinas, California. My guest this time is Chair of the SPCA Monterey County Board of Directors, Sherrie McCullough. Sherrie has been involved with SPCA Monterey County for a very long time. You are about to find out just how long. And she is a fierce advocate for our wonderful organization and the animals that we care for. A quick note. Season 1 of SPCA Stories will be coming to a close with one more episode coming your way very soon. We will take a bit of a hiatus with Season 2 commencing in January 2026. Can you believe it? Get ready for an additional format that we think you will all really enjoy, and this format will feature heartwarming stories of animals rescued by your SPCA Monterey County. In the meantime, we hope you enjoy this interview with Sherrie McCullough. Hi, Sherrie.
Hi, Dawn.
Thank you for coming.
Oh, I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to have you on SPCA Stories. So why don't you introduce yourself to our listeners?
Well, I'm Sherrie McCullough, and I'm chairman of the board at this present time.
Fantastic. Now, how long have you been a part of SPCA Monterey County?
It's been a long time. I started my first time on the board was in 1983. After my husband and we moved up for a short period of time up in Menlo Park, and then we moved back down here. He really missed a lot of our friends, and so when we moved back in 1983, then I was invited to come on the board. I've been on the board 3 different times. And the last time I was invited on is because we had our second capital campaign. Mm-hmm. And the person that was supposed to chair that died at the very beginning.
Oh, my goodness.
And so I got a call from Scott, of course. Mm-hmm. And he said, "We need your help. Will you come back and chair this capital campaign for us?" And of course, I wasn't going to say no. That's when I came back on the board for the 3rd time. Mm-hmm. And here I am. But I also chaired the first capital campaign, the large one that we had. Mm-hmm. So here I am again.
Here you are. So we know people have asked you to come back, but what is it about SPCA Monterey County that keeps you coming back?
Well, I'm very passionate about animals, and I'm very passionate about this organization. I always want to make sure, no matter if I'm on the board or off the board, that this organization does well. But I've always loved animals, and I wanted to get back into the community again and get involved, and so SPCA was perfect. And but I have a real passion, of course, for what I do here at the SPCA, and I want to make sure it continues that way. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And believe me, I will view my thoughts if it doesn't, and I'm sure Scott knows that. And I'll be going off the board in June of next year, but I told Scott I will always be around. I will always be helpful in any way I can. Mm-hmm. But we need to have this younger generation to pull in. We need new blood, and it's important for the board. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so it's time for other people.
So when I came on board here, when I started working at the SPCA, gosh, that was 17 years ago.
Wow.
And I want to say you were part of the board at that time. Uh-huh. So I connect you with SPCA Monterey County, Sherrie. I really do. I think of you and your commitment, and I think of you when I think of this organization. Well, actually,
I've heard from a lot of people the same thing. In fact, I went to a memorial service of one of our donors the other day, and the lady had said to me, when I think of you, you are the face of the SPCA, and it's because I've been here so many years, and so that also tells me it's time to go off.
How do you go about recruiting
Other
new board members? How
that's
does
a
that
good question,
happen?
and I feel very strongly about it. And
Mhm.
we've through the nominating committee, I say to not only this organization, but because I was a consultant to other nonprofit organizations, the most important committee is your nominating committee.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't have the right mixture of board members, things can go astray. It only takes one board member to create a problem. I've been involved with other boards where there's been a very divisive situation with board members, where you have half the board thinking one way and the other half thinking another way. And when that happens, that means that nothing gets done for the organization. So I go to the nominating committees, and I don't hold back because it's a very important committee. When we suggest names, we put it out to the board as well because we want feedback in. There may be a person that's being suggested, and I may not know that person very well. So we want feedback from the board.
Yes.
And there have been a couple times where we found that maybe this particular person wasn't right for our board for one reason or another. I think the main thing when we get together in the nominating committee is, are they a team member? They have to work as a team. Are they going to think of our mission, our goals down the road, the same way as everybody else? That's really important. And of course, we look at other things. We look at how involved are they in the community? Would their relationships be helpful to us in identifying other people, identifying prospective donors? And then we also look at, well, can they give financially? We don't ask for a lot, and we don't ask for a minimum each year, but they do have to give something. We ask that they give as much as they can, of course, but there's not a minimum that we require like some boards. I know some boards here on the peninsula will say, we require at least $5,000 a year for you to stay on the board. We don't do that. And my thinking of that is, first of all, it could eliminate some really good board members. But the other is, if somebody comes on the board and you give them a limit, and let's say they can afford to give 10 times that, and if they hear 5,000, they're just going to give you 5,000 possibly, and not give to the maximum or what they are thinking they are going to give. So, but nominating is just really, really important. And we also look at, what kind of person do we need right now? We have right now mostly women. We'd like to get more men. But I am not the person where I feel that we have to have equal numbers. I really think getting the right person, obviously they have to have passion for the animals. That's number one.
Yes.
And we tell them a little bit about the organization, of course, and how they feel about the organization. And once the nominating committee feels good about this particular person, we then go to the board and say, okay, we're thinking about this particular person. Does anybody have any feedback? Maybe information that we don't have right now, good or bad. That's really important.
Yes.
And then we go back, and if it's a okay situation, then we go back. Then we talk to the prospect that we're thinking and talking about. And then we invite them to lunch. We sit down and we have a really good conversation. We talk to them about what our board meetings are like, what obviously the organization is all about, what the criterias are for them to be a board member. We talk about all the different committees they could be on, though they don't have to be on a committee for the first time. So we go over that. So they have a good feeling of what they're getting into, what they're going to get involved in. Obviously, we talk about the terms involved. Right now, we have 2 3-year terms. So it could be a total of 6. Then you have to go off for 1 year. And if you're interested, then your name goes back to the nominating committee. And we review that and say, do we want this person back or not? And that's really important. And then we go through that process again. So as you can tell, there's a lot to think about. There's a lot to do when we're getting a new member on the board, because it is so important. That makes or breaks an organization some of the time.
So let's say there's somebody out there that has no idea what does the board do? What is the responsibility of the board?
The responsibility, of course, is knowing the criteria of what it takes to be on the board, knowing something about, of course, the SPCA. Of course, we want them to feel passionately about animals. Doesn't have to be all the animals, but that they want to put their, if you will, heart and soul into coming to the meetings and making this organization better, looking at what our goals are, agreeing with our goals. Like right now, we want to, as you know, we want to progress in South County. Yeah. So badly needed in South County, are services there. There are dogs roaming down there. They need spay and neuter closer to them. You know, when you're down in South County, you're probably taking at least a day to have to make an appointment. Then you got to drive all the way up.
Yes.
And then you got to wait. And then you got to drive all the way back. And so it takes a while. And when you start thinking about that, you say that person may say to themselves, gee, you know, I'm just not going to want to do that. So it doesn't happen for their animal. They don't come up to get the spay and neuter, even though we have low cost fees for that, or they find a stray. And they said, well, I'd have to drive it all the way up here because we don't have any services down there.
Yes.
So, you know, South County is just really important for us right now. Monterey County is a very large county.
It's huge. It's huge.
Is. And so we have a lot to cover. And when I talk about the county, that doesn't mean that we're affiliated with the county. That's just the territory that we cover and the responsibility of that territory that we cover. Because, as I'm sure some of our listeners have heard before, we don't get any funding from the county, the state, or the federal government, or any other animal organization out there.
Yes. Sing it, Sherrie.
Yes. Everybody gets us confused with ASPCA.
That's true.
In fact, I just got a mailing the other day that I just tossed in the garbage. They don't even have an office here or anything here in our area. They're back on the East Coast.
Yes.
But they're marketing in our area, and everybody, not everybody, but people can get confused. And when they make a contribution to ASPCA, they think we're getting the contribution or a part of it.
Correct.
And that's just not correct.
No, we are completely independent.
That's
completely
right.
independent. And yes, we get that question all the time.
Yes.
It can be very confusing. And so for those listening, if you're not familiar with Monterey County, like Sherrie said, we are a very, very large county, and we have wonderful resources for animals here at SPCA Monterey County. But because we are such a large County, there is a whole South County. We've been talking about South County. It's a good, hour to drive back and forth, probably, depending on traffic. So it's hard
Right.
for us to get those resources to the
Yes.
folks that live down there. So we are working towards having more of a presence down there so we can give those resources to those folks who need it for their animals. So it's
Yeah.
very important.
It is very important. So that's one of our goals right now. And so we need to get people on our board that are going to think the same way.
Yes. Can we switch gears for just a second?
Of course.
Because I want to know, so have you loved animals your whole life?
I have. We've always had a dog. But it's interesting, when I got more involved with the SPCA, the relationship to the animals became even more important. You understood the need for these poor animals who don't get a really good home.
Mm-hmm.
Years ago, I adopted a dog who was in a hoarding case. And it's very difficult to talk about her today.
Mm-hmm. I remember this dog, Sherrie.
Yes.
I remember her.
Well, the whole staff at this time remembered, and I got a wonderful photo of myself with this little dog named Daisy May. She was only about 6 pounds. And at that time, our executive director was Gary Tiscornia, and he brought this little dog to one of our lunches, as we always have some little wonderful creature at these lunches. And I remember holding her on my lap. She didn't move. She just took a nap on my lap. And then Gary talked about her, said that she was in a hoarding case for about 50 other animals. They thought that she was an older dog because she had the white hairs already growing on her face.
That's right.
She had no teeth.
Mm-hmm.
And there was obviously something wrong with her eyes. I went home that night and not even thinking about adopting her that day. The more I thought about it, I said that night to my husband, I said, I think I need to adopt this dog. No one's going to adopt her. She's older. She has no teeth. There's something wrong with her eyes. And so he said, if that's what you need to do, you go do it. He was also a lover of animals. Thank goodness. Of course, I wouldn't marry anybody who wasn't. So I came, and I think it was a shock to everybody. I said, I want to adopt Daisy May. So I adopted her the next day. I took her to an ophthalmologist for dogs, specialist here. She had about 3 operations. What happened was she had inverted eyelids. And can you imagine having the pain of inverted eyelids all this time, and you don't know how long she had that situation?
Oh, poor thing.
So after she was done, she was a different dog.
Wow.
So different.
Mm-hmm.
She was happy. She was out of pain. She just bounded off my front stairs now, she was just an entirely different dog.
Yeah, she's wonderful.
I'm getting choked out. But this is what you can do for the animals. We changed her life.
Yes.
Because of that.
Yes.
We adopted her, and she had a really good life towards the end. And unfortunately, she stayed with us for maybe a couple of years. And then we found out she got cancer.
Oh.
I did not want to have her go through any more pain than she had to go through. She already been through.
What a wonderful, wonderful life you gave her. I do remember that dog. And I remember hearing that you were going to take her. What a lucky, lucky girl. What a lucky little dog to have. She's going to, in just a couple years she was with you, you gave her the best possible life and all the love. So thank you for that.
Well, I know it was life-changing for her, but it was for us too.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember bringing home for the first day, and I thought, okay, I had another dog. And, of course, all she did was curl up in my lap and sleep because she couldn't see too well.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, what's the sleeping arrangement going to be? And I had a little place on the floor right next to the bed for her. And it was in a little, like a carrier. And I thought, well, I'll try it. I put her in there. And all of a sudden, it's the first time I've heard her, she yelped. And I thought, she's telling me she doesn't want that. I got her out. I put her next to me on the bed. That was it. That's where she slept every single night, right under my left arm. And she was just the most precious dog. And anyway, it's stories like that that just make you feel that you have a major part to play in this world with animals. And we're so glad that we adopted her. So she would at least have the last few years of her life feeling so much better, so much happier. And so that was a major situation for us in our life. And I'm glad I did that. And so that's why I tell everybody, there's so many dogs to be adopted. And they have so many different lives, and their past may be a terrible past, and you can, change that for them. So, and
when you get involved, I mean, that's such a beautiful story. And there are so many stories, but when you do get involved, it's amazing how it speaks to you and how, you just want to do more.
Yes.
So,
right.
And one of the things I love about working for this organization is that I truly feel like everyone who's here, everyone from all of the wonderful volunteers we have to the staff to the board, we all share that same passion. And while we play different roles within the organization, it really does, it is a united front. And I am grateful, so grateful to be here and that I've had the opportunity to see so many wonderful transformations.
And make a difference.
Yes. And it really gives me a lot of hope. And and again, it's all about the animals, but it's the people that I work with that provide, people like you, Sherrie, who come on the board, who are staunch advocates and, who really are here to help and spread the love, so to speak, to help us do that. I am so grateful.
Well, talking about the other side of it, you as an employee, that's the other side of an organization. As a board member, yes, we have a lot of great employees that have a lot of great passion. And this is an organization that I have bragged about for a long time, that we have the best senior staff.
Yes.
And we've had people who've been here for, I think Beth has been with us for about 22 years now.
She has.
And so obviously we must be doing something right. But in talking about the organization itself, as a board member, I look at running this organization obviously, our responsibility as a board is the fiscal management.
Yes.
And so we're responsible for, of course, raising money, making sure we can pay our bills, being fiscally responsible. But also, people think because we're a nonprofit, we're not going to run this as a business. And
Right.
I really feel that only because you have nonprofit under your name, that you can run it differently than a business. And I feel strongly that we have to run it as a business. You got to have good management in place. You got to have a good team in place. It's like any other business.
Yes.
In order for it to run well and have the respect in the community, that's the other side that people maybe don't think about. And I like to remind board members that that's what we have to think about, and that's how we need to make sure it's run. And so we've been fortunate enough to have these last 2 executive directors be just the best. And so I want to make sure we keep it that way. That's really, really important.
What is the most difficult part about being a board member?
Of course, hearing about all these terrible stories and know that unfortunately they go on and it happens too often. And how I know staff, part of their job is educating the public.
Yes.
And that's really, really important. We have to educate the public. We have to let them know, not just to let their dog out if they didn't want them anymore, but to bring them here. Let somebody else adopt them and take care of them and love them. And that's what we need to always educate the people, to let them know that's a choice they have. And it would be far better for the animal. And so that will never, we will always have to do that. We will always have to educate the public. And sometimes it depends upon your background and how you were raised and your thinking about animals. Sometimes a child may grow up without any kind of responsibility for an animal or any kind of love for an animal. And so this may be brand new for them later on.
Sure.
And a good resource that we have that complements this is the prison program that we have, and how people just love that program. It's the first time that maybe the particular prisoner has had any kind of feedback of love from anything, not just a human being, but just from a dog. And it changes their life. It changes how they feel. And that would be important starting earlier with teenagers, with children, so they don't go down that path.
Yes. We have, in our in-school programs that we offer, that's one of our goals, is to really, we plant the seeds.
Yes.
Plant the seeds. And, not every child is going to grow up with a pet. I mean, I didn't have pets growing up, my grandma had a dog, and that was he was sort of my dog, but I didn't grow up with pets in the home, like in my immediate home. So, that would have been maybe a game changer for me. Who knows? But so a lot of our education programs that we bring to the schools, we plant those seeds because we know children have a natural love for animals. It's just there, that curiosity, and just making sure that we nurture that. And going back to our Rough Start program, I have interviewed Jamie Doglioni, who's in charge of that program at Salinas Valley State. And Salinas Valley State Prison. And one of the things that she said, and I'm probably not going to say it correctly, but one of the things that's so great about the program is that a lot of these, in prison, there's no physical contact, there's no affection. It's just the structure of the program. Or of being in prison, you don't hug, there's none of that. But when you have, the dogs, they can show that affection. Yeah. And so it really does something, not only to the inmates in the program itself, but to the whole yard. Anyone who is in contact with these dogs, they suddenly have a way to express kindness and affection when that's not something they would do otherwise.
Right.
So it's important.
And one thing about animals is they don't care who you are, what color you are, what your past have been. They're going to give the love right back.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's what's so wonderful about them.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing.
It's amazing. I'm curious, is there a particular department? We have a lot of departments here at the SPCA. Is there one department that is most intriguing to you? I'm not asking you to play favorites.
No. Well, I think one department that people don't realize that we have that is so important is the Humane Investigation Department. People don't realize that we have a department that goes out and investigates calls that we get in. We get calls from neighbors or utility people that have been in homes. And I think a lot of our hoarding cases have come from just those kinds of people who call in and say, I think you need to come and take a look at this particular situation or this house. Or we passed by a field and we saw a horse that didn't have any water or feed, and it's just skin and bones. And so we go investigate. In fact, I think the second time I came back on the board, Rosanna was there, and so she headed that department. And I went with her on a ride in her vehicle with her when she followed up on a case. And it was really interesting. I didn't know what to expect. And she went up to the door, and it was really an educational conference. She had to let them know what they needed to do and how maybe this particular animal was suffering and that we would have to come back and follow up. Obviously, it wasn't a dire case where we needed to take the animals here, but it was a matter of education, and she did it so well. There was no confrontation. It was just an education to these people. And so that really kind of surprised me, opened my eyes to what they do. But thank goodness we could afford to have that department because it is so, so important.
Absolutely.
And if people think, how does their contribution get spent? Well, that's one department that's so important for the animals. We've got so many different departments here.
We do.
We are one of the biggest SPCA or humane societies that have a wildlife center, our own spay and neuter. We have the barn.
Yes.
And, of course, humane investigation. So there's a lot that we have to pay for. So their contributions are just very, very important.
Yes.
To our needs here.
Yes. And I mean, we talked earlier about how large Monterey County is. And we have five officers now, I believe, 4 or 5 that, work the county. It's a big county, and they are, these folks are busy. They are always going out and investigating. And I think they receive like 1,000 calls a year for potential cruelty or neglect that is reported by the public. And again, it's a confidential report. People can call. We're going to follow up on every single phone call we get. I know we followed up on calls that children have made. in the
Oh,
past. It's been a long
interesting.
time, but I believe when I first started working here, there was a 5-year-old child. We're going to take that seriously. We are going to listen to whoever calls
Sure,
us.
right,
We are going to follow up on all of those. So yes, your contributions are going to do amazing things for our community and for the
right,
animals in the community. So, and we're so grateful for that.
right.
What do you really want listeners to take away from this podcast, this episode with you?
Hopefully they would have learned something new about the SPCA that they hadn't heard before, knowing how staff and board members get so involved, and it's very passionate work, but we're also very realistic. You can't have just all passion.
Yes.
You have to be the other side of it, and know you have to be realistic, and you have to understand the business side of things as well. So I hope they get a little understanding of that and how important we look at the kinds of board members that come on to the board, because that's just so important. Sometimes that either makes or breaks a board and the organization. And of course, how important it is to have great staff. If you don't have great staff, it's like any other business. It's not going to do well. You're not going to be able to succeed. You're not going to be able to attain those goals that have been set out for you. And that board members and senior staff are in alignment. They're looking at the same things together, understanding what the needs are today and what it is down the road. If it's next year, 5 years, or 10 years from now, we all have to be thinking the same and working together on those goals. My values and my goals for the organization haven't changed, so my expectations are very high, but not only for the board, but for the staff and what we do. And I think that's important. Got to have some great expectations, for an organization to grow and for us to survive. We have a lot here that's dependent upon how we deal with all the animals in the county.
I want to thank you so very much for not only your time today, but for being such a staunch advocate for us. I keep using that word staunch, but I just thank you so much for everything and for all the years and the dedication and the inspiration. Because I will say you're a bit of a role model for me. I really respect you.
Thank you.
And thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Well, it's an important organization for me, as I said. And so I'm glad to be here to do this with you, Dawn. And no matter if I'm on the board or off the board, I will always feel the same. And I will always give my all to the organization.
Thank you all for tuning in. We would love to hear from you. If you have questions or just want to say hello, you can drop me an email at dfenton@spcamc.org. You can find out more information about all of our programs and services at spcamc.org. A tremendous thank you to all SPCA staff, volunteers, and board of directors. Of course, a heartfelt thank you to our generous supporters. We at SPCA Monterey County could not do what we do for the animals and people in our community without you. If you would like to support us, and that would be most appreciated, you can find that information at spcamc.org. Also, If you like what you hear, please drop a like or give us a rating on whatever platform you listen in on. Those ratings help us reach more animal lovers. I am Dawn Fenton, signing off until next time. Much unconditional love to you and your pets from us here at SPCA Monterey County.